Thank you so much for joining me in my podcast today. I'm very pleased to have you here. I would like to introduce yourself briefly first before we start. You are the founder of KAAIAA. KAAIAA is a studio and a community that helps people with their health and fitness journey. You created a safe space to make sure that people can enjoy their practice safely, and you just launched your studio in Bondi Junction, Sydney. On top of that, you are the ambassador for Lululemon. So you travel a fair bit with this gig, but you travel as well to present KAAIAA and your holistic approach to fitness. And last but not least, you are a mom of two.
Yes.
And I love having powerhouse mamas in this podcast because you're such inspiration for me, So Leah, welcome and thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Marie, for having me. It's lovely to be here. I'm glad that we finally found some time to make this happen.
Yes, thank you. It all started from you and a personal quest to improve your health and fitness in general. Can you tell me more about this?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I actually came from the music industry. So I was a DJ for 18 years. I lived in London. I ran a record label. I guess I was the definition of work hard, play hard. And I got to a point in my life where there was a few things happening in the industry. I realised that I wanted to sort of dump my time in London. I wanted to come back to Australia and see what was sort of next for me on my career path. So I was 30. I arrived back, this was 2006, so if you do the maths, you can figure out how old I am. And realised that along my sort of journey, I've always been into sport, into health and fitness, not necessarily as a career, but one of the methods that I got introduced to way back then was Pilates. My mum used to drag me to the Pilates classes when I used to arrive back to Australia to come and she'd look at me and she'd be like, right, you come with me, we need to do something. We're going to be living in a nightclub for the last 6 months, which I had been, by the way. And I just fell in love with the method. And this was way before it was cool or anything really. It challenged me in a way that I felt safe in my body. It really worked for me and my body type. I just loved the feeling after the class. I felt my posture had improved. I just felt longer. I felt leaner. I felt all the things that we talk about now, but I didn't know what was going on. And so I was considering what to do next, and I thought, well, this is something that I could do. My Pilates teacher was like, you'd make a fantastic instructor. Why don't we set you up on that path? And let me tell you, it took me 2 years to get my studio certification. I did my PT certification, I did a 6-month course in anatomy and physiology. I had to do a range of different NLP courses around being a teacher and how to be an effective teacher, and then obviously in the studio. So my journey in health and fitness, or wellness, I suppose, started almost 20 years ago. The first 10 years of that was spent very much focusing on the physical body. That's what we as a society equated to what we perceived as good health. If you looked a certain way, then obviously that translated into an overall snapshot of what it meant to be healthy. Unfortunately, that really wasn't the case, and it isn't the case. Physical fitness is one part of it, okay, and it's an extremely important part of it. But there is a huge aspect of mental health, emotional stability, connection to yourself, so that the way that you view yourself, having a healthy relationship with your body, being connected to your body, so understanding what type of body you are, how to support that, and then obviously going through the different stages of life. So 30-year-old me has very different needs to 48-year-old me.
Yes.
And trying to sort of create this blanket one-size-fits-all solution for people, it just doesn't work. And so for 10 years, obviously with the advent of social media and stuff like that, I was very much focused on the body. My Instagram handle was Body by Leah Simmons. I was probably what you would call one of the first fitness influencers, I suppose, as they came out. People were very much engaging with my content around what do you eat, what are you doing, da 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 da. And the more I started posting stuff around my own journey and really taking a look at the process to get that perfect shot, and what would actually happen behind the scenes to achieve that, I started to feel really uneasy about how I was the end result, and then what people's perception of how, I guess, easy or hard that would be to achieve. And I started to create this quite unhealthy relationship with myself. So there was, on one side, there was the pressure to maintain this physique and maintain this kind of facade of health. And then there was this crumbling relationship that I was having with my own mental health, my own relationship with my body, my relationship with my son, my partner. It all started to sort of take a back seat to chasing this, unattainable ideal, really. And it was only when I started to delve a little bit deeper into what good health was, and some, I guess I had to face some hard truths, some big realities around I'm jeopardizing things in my life for the sake of what? For the sake of strangers' approval that I don't even know, someone on the other side of a screen, as opposed to really cultivating and nurturing the relationships that matter the most, which is the relationship you have with yourself. That's going to be number one, and that will feed out into, how you are in the world. So I was very fortunate at the time to be traveling back and forth between here and Bali. I'd met someone who lived there, so I was sort of doing 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And it was when I was there that I got introduced to different modalities that were designed to support different areas of your life. So breath work, meditation, and a whole piece around mindset training, because obviously good health would start from a growth mindset, a healthy mindset, a positive mindset. So how do you train those areas of your life? And the more I started incorporating those practices into my training schedule, so I didn't sort of sacrifice physical training, but what I found was I was spending 4 or 5 hours a day trying to fit all of this stuff in. Now, if you have the opportunity to do that and that's sustainable for you and you're somewhere where you have no other responsibilities in your life, great, have at it. For me, I'm this weird combination of like practical, pragmatic, efficient with like creative, spiritual, So I wanted to look for a workout that combined all of the things so that I didn't have to spend all these many hours going to different places. And I couldn't find one. So I decided to create one, and that is basically how KAAIAA became the thing. It's a combination of all of the things that sort of kept me together as a person, all of the things that I was getting results from on a daily basis, into a sort of 45-minute workout that I could safely do every single day. So it's breath work, it's body work, it's meditation, it's mindset training, all combined into one. And then when I eventually moved back to Australia during COVID, we did the first year of COVID in Bali, and then at the end of 2020, we decided to come back to Australia to sort of visit family. But I, in my heart of hearts, knew that I didn't want to go back to Bali, so I was going to stay, and launched KAAIAA. The reaction was unbelievable. People couldn't believe that actually nothing like this existed. And look, I haven't reinvented the wheel. There's nothing in the workout that I've made up, or it's all just a sequence of modalities or practices that I have kind of created into this one thing. Yes. But we did start off in a studio environment. So I had, one of my girlfriends has a great studio in Paddington. She allowed me to run some classes there. It then started to grow and grow, and I thought, well, maybe I could kind of move this into my own little space. We found a beautiful little community space in Bondi Beach. I started running classes there. That was great. And then, so we did that for sort of 4 months, and then we went into lockdown. And I'd never turned Zoom on in my whole entire life. Honestly, it wasn't something that I'd ever really had to bother with. But I said to my community, because I started to create this momentum, that, how about I just do an online class every morning, just so that you can keep up your practice, and I'll do it for the duration of the lockdown. naive me thinking the lockdown would only go for 2 weeks. 78 days later, I was still doing it. So I showed up every morning, 7 a.m. And then the community, through whatever reason, started to grow. And by August of that year, I think it was 2021, I was getting over 700 people a day into my Zoom classes.
That's true.
From all over the world. It wasn't just...
only Australia.
And it was so great. I almost was just like, I kind of mourned that period. I mean, why can't we just go back to the city of being able to sit? And exactly. But what ended up happening was that I had created this incredible online community. So when we came out of lockdown, I was like, well, I don't want to just go back to sort of 20 people in the studio. What am I going to do with all these people? And fortunately, I had recorded all of the classes through the lockdown. So I created an online sort of subscription platform that we just kept going with. Now, that was fine. We sort of plodded along well for a while, but I think people sort of ended up with a little bit of, Zoom fatigue, and they were desperate to get out of their confined space, which is fair enough, and back out into the world, back out into a physical space. They wanted to interact with other people. So we sort of experimented with community tours. We did big events. We still had the online. But the common sort of thread that ran through everybody was, when are you going to have your own studio space again? And I really wrestled with it for a while. Because it's a huge commitment. And don't forget, I was the only one that was teaching it. So I had to ask myself, at this stage of my life, do I want to be married to a studio? I've done that. I taught in a studio for 10 years, but then I also thought we can actually create the home of KAAIAA without it having to be just KAAIAA. And so everything that we do in studio, I guess, that all of the practices will relate to the philosophy of KAAIAA, but it's not necessarily just KAAIAA. And what I've also realised, I guess, in tandem with this, is that my demographic of women, so I guess 40 plus, is severely underrepresented and underserviced in the fitness industry.
So true.
And our needs are different. We need a lot of strength training. I mean, this body that you see before you has been built over 20 years of consistent strength training, conditioning, recovery techniques, a lot of that stuff. And I constantly was asked, like, what's the secret? How do I get that? Yes. And I thought maybe this can be a place where we actually really focus on that sort of that demographic of women and offer them a program that satisfies what they need, rather than just saying, well, here's a program, go into a gym, you do it. I mean, gym intimidation is real.
No,
for a lot of people.
Yes.
You walk in,
agree.
You see machines you've never seen before. You see people, and especially in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, it can be a very, very terrifying space to step into. So my first thing was, I don't want it to look like a gym. That was number one. I wanted it to look like a little haven of support, of safety, of community. Secondly, whilst we're not women only, we are women focused. So we sort of naturally attract a type of person. The program that I have now designed, that we are sort of in the middle of testing at the moment, is very much focused around supporting women what they want at this stage of their life. So it's very much on strength training. We work a lot on mobility training, things like grip strength, knee strength and stability and alignment, a lot of joint health, whilst also incorporating, heavy lifting and correct technique. We offer a lot of, so KAAIAA is still a huge part of it, because a lot of these women have just lost confidence in themselves, and they're just feeling like they've lost themselves, whether it's due to hormonal weight gain or a different stage of their life. They just want to get back to feeling confident. So there's a lot around mindset training. We offer all of the practices that are in KAAIAA, breathwork, meditation, and it's all actually programmed into the program. So rather than going, okay, well, here are your 3 sessions a week, and then you need to go out there and do X, Y, Z by yourself, we have incorporated that into the program. We have an amazing shuffle club that we do hill walks, and, you know, because the things that we've identified that women need is strength training, walking up an incline, a little bit of jump training, so putting a little bit of stress onto the bones, trying to keep them healthy and strong, and then the recovery process. So sauna, steam, ice bath, all of that sort of stuff. And I have to say, the women are loving it. It's almost to the point where they're like, I don't know what we're going to do after this 12 weeks finishes, because I can't go back into a normal gym, you know. They've been so spoiled. But I really realised that, you know, there's a distinct lack of this type of program out there. And so basically KAAIAA has kind of evolved from, you know, this one workout format into a philosophy, into a solution for a whole demographic of women.
Thank you. There is so much to unpack.
I know, I'm sorry. Once I get going, I just don't stop. You're going to have to
I love it. I'm going to go back to the beginning when you said that you quickly realized that training or eating or just looking healthy was not the thing, actually. I cannot agree more, but probably at that time, it was probably a very rare thought. Now everyone is about mental health and making sure that you are okay with yourself, you approve yourself before you start. But at that time, you probably had a different thought that most of the industry when it came to...
Look, I don't think that I was exceptional or special.
Yes.
I think it was a process.
Yes.
So it was identifying the feeling that I was having. I think a lot of people have it. I don't think a lot of people have the courage or the will to act on it. It's really interesting to me seeing the different movements. I've been in this industry for a long time, so I've seen everything. I've tried everything. I've seen all the quick fixes and the hacks and all this and that, and the drugs and the you know, all of this sort of stuff come through. And for me, I guess all of these things can be perceived as sort of band-aids to cover a deeper problem. So whilst I don't love the saying no pain, no gain, because I don't like, you know, win, lose, or the painful, good, the bad. For me, it's no action, no change. So I have it's probably an unpopular opinion, but I have a real problem with positive affirmations, because I believe that intention without action leads nowhere. So this whole kind of I am enough, I am this, I am that, like, okay, but what does that mean?
Yes, yeah. What do you do
and
to
why
feel
are you saying this? Are
Yeah.
you saying this to make yourself feel better because you're not doing the thing that you want to do? I'm a little bit more like, okay, I am here, I want to be here, and what are the steps that I need to identify and then take to get there? Now that journey can be as short or as long as you make it, and that will come down to your commitment, your dedication, the effort that you put in, the time that you carve out. Like, there's all these variables within it, but you can't be like, I am here and I want to be here, but make no change here, and then lament the fact that you're not there.
Yes.
or try to, I guess, justify why you're still here. I think body positivity and a positive body image is different to good health as well. I think they sit in two different camps. I think there is some very clear evidence-based, science-backed data around what is going to allow you to go into a longer life at an optimum around physicality, so visceral fat, all of that sort of stuff. I think that we're doing ourselves a disservice, basically, if we try and, fake it till we make it, because you're going to get to a point where you can't fake it anymore. And it's one thing to be, as I said, 25 and sort of saying, But when you get into your late 40s, early 50s, you have to start thinking about, what does the next 20 years of my life look like? What am I going to be like when I am 60, when I am 70? And I want to be mobile, I want to be fit, I want to be able to still travel, I want to do all the things that I enjoy doing now. What are the things that I need to do to kind of future-proof myself in that moment? And so that's the type of stuff that we are addressing without making it super daggy. Because I think that there's this kind of misconception that, right, once you get into this kind of aspect of your life where you can't lift a heavy weight and you have to only do, like, you know, soft sort of this, that, and the other. I mean, that's just utter garbage. I don't know where that's come from, but this generation of women that has basically brought up this other generation that's coming, we are the ones that are we are not ready to just be put out to pasture. We have things to do. And so I feel like whether I'm at the middle of my life in years, I'm so at the precipice in the beginning of a whole new chapter, and I'm not ready to be relegated into the rehab room. Yes. It's just not where I want to be.
Absolutely.
And there's a huge cohort of women that want to take control back over their bodies, over the choices that they make around, what it means for them to be healthy, around the information and the spaces that are available to them to execute those choices. And I would really love to think that I'm providing at least one of those spaces for them.
Yes, I'm definitely going to come back to that, because you said a very important thing. I noticed in my entourage and everywhere else pretty much that people fail to maintain their healthy lifestyle. Do you know why?
So first of all, it's what does success look like for that individual? So you have to break down, what is a healthy lifestyle? What does that mean? What is your goal? So where do you want to get to? I think what's realistic in the short term, the mid-term, and the long term. I think where people fail is that they try and take on too much and make too much of a change in an instant. And I also believe that there's a huge, it's really important to educate yourself around why you are doing this. And this is where I think social media can be a little bit of a minefield, because we have so much information coming at us, and a lot of it is contradictory to each other. Like, yes, eat eggs, don't eat eggs, eat oats, don't eat oats, do this, don't do that, you need cardio, you don't need cardio. I mean, it's like, and no wonder people get a little bit of like paralysis around what is right for me. So I think in the first instance, you want to try and sort of just block out the noise, be honest and realistic about you and where you want to go. Set a goal, but then set incremental goals around getting there. Because, I say in the induction night for our thing, Rome wasn't built in a day. You're not going to get this done in 12 weeks. You're not going to see this gigantic transformation. However, some of the foundations were certainly laid. And at this stage, what you want to be working on is laying those foundations to create your base body, your foundational body, a body with which you can rely on and show up, a body that is going to be a less of an injury risk. Because the more you injure yourself, you might do a flurry of some sort of like HIIT CrossFit style thing, but injure yourself and then you're out for 2 months. So that's that sort of stop-start. What can I safely maintain? What is sustainable for me? What can I commit to, really? What can I really commit to on a weekly basis? Is it 2 gym sessions and 1 walk? Okay, great. Let's start there. Build that consistent habit. Anything that is worth doing that requires a lot of change, or there's a big change at the end, is going to take consistency. That's just it. And it's not science, it's not anything, it just is. So
keep showing up every day.
Exactly. You want to create that daily habit. And unfortunately, the way that we're wired, it's much easier to create a bad habit than it is to create a good habit. So I think when people sort of have these good intentions, once again, it's the intention, but then slide back into, that they start to pile the guilt onto themselves, which then probably leads them to another bad choice. It's this sort of cyclical hamster wheel that we can't seem to get off, where we're really, really hard on ourselves for not doing something. So I think we just need to take a step back, give ourselves a little bit of a break, set some realistic goals, find somebody that can help you get there, and sort of give you some, actionable steps in order to do that. And then it's just about celebrating those small little wins. Yes. This is not, we're not in the middle of a war.
Yes.
We're not curing cancer. We're not doing these things.
Yes.
We don't want to take it too seriously that we're on an emotional roller coaster around it as well, because obviously stress is going to impede your results. So we need to have a little bit of a macro view of what it is that we're doing. And just know this is good for me. Yes. I am extending my life. This is going to allow me to play with my kids longer. This is going to let me see my grandkids. This is all part of building up towards a longer, healthier, stronger, more optimized, more enjoyable life.
Boost of inspiration. Like, I'm done, I'm going. Thank you, I love it. I really love it. I wanted to ask you about, I actually didn't know there is a name, but you said it very well. Gym intimidation?
Gym intimidation, yes. It's one of those, I think it's an Instagram handle.
But I didn't know, but I definitely felt it and seen that. And this is why now I'm only doing group training, because if I'm sweating, everyone else is sweating. There is not this perfect girl with a perfect outfit and the makeup looking at you like, what the fuck are you? So it's definitely something. Especially in Australia, I would say. I'm French, so in my country we are good at many things, but sport is not one of these things.
It's funny because I lived in London for 7 years, obviously, and I think when you're in a climate that is very much focused indoors, so you have you have very defined seasons. We are an outdoor country,
yes,
and especially living on the coast, most of our population is centered around coastal areas. We have access to beaches and mountains and all of that sort of stuff. So I think we have this relationship with the outdoors and a healthy lifestyle. Mind you, having said that, we also have the second highest rate of obesity in children in the world per capita.
Really?
Yes. So there is a little bit of a juxtaposition. I do think, our emphasis on obviously team sport and all that sort of stuff sets us up to becoming a really healthy nation. But to your point, the gym intimidation is definitely real. And even me, as somebody that's been in the industry for a long time, that knows their way around a machine, that knows what to do when I get in there, I feel it. And I look around when I get into a gym and I see all of these faces of just, it's not that they don't want to train. They do. They don't know what to do safely. And I think that there's a feeling of sort of invisibility when you hit a certain age. And so they're just a little bit less confident to ask for some help.
Yes.
I do think we have the potential to be one of the fittest, healthiest nations, but I think education, especially in schools around nutrition and all that sort of stuff, is really, really important to continue that. Now, there's a broader topic of conversation around this, around cost of living and how much does our fresh produce cost and why is it so expensive, and access and all that sort of stuff. I think at a government level there needs to be some massive changes, and even subsidising some programs in gyms for people, whether it's on their healthcare, or that needs to also become a conversation, because we need to provide, just like we provide free education to through our public schools, we should be providing free exercise services for people, especially of my age group and beyond. So look, we're chipping away at it as best that we can.
Oh, thank you. It's really interesting. You mentioned as well the fact that working on yourself and your mental health helped you a lot, and I guess probably made you a better person with yourself and people around you. It's not an easy process, and you said it, some people are afraid doing that, and I absolutely understand why, because there are things that you don't want to see and don't want to face. What would you recommend to these people to start this?
Compassion. I mean, just have some compassion. The fact that you've become aware of it and the change, you want change, is such a huge step in itself. I think taking responsibility for your own health journey is something that is daunting for a lot of people. We come from a culture where it's easy to go out to find a reason as to why we behave the way that we do. Oh, my parents made me this way, or it was this particular thing, or it was a series of these events. We can't change the past. What we can do is change our relationship with the past. So we can either use those events to fuel us, to draw a line in the sand and say, right, I don't want to be defined by that anymore. I don't want to feel like this anymore. How do I take control back of my emotions? How do I take control back of my mental health? What are the things that I need to put in place in order to make that transition into empowering myself to be responsible for my own health? And that in itself can be a scary process. Okay, it can also be something sort of put in the, oh, I'll do it next week, or I'll start next week, or I'll, yes, which is why I can't stand New Year's resolutions. I feel like if you're going to start on January 1st, why not start on like June the 10th? It's just another day. It doesn't matter. Start now. Just start. Showing up and putting yourself into that moment of discomfort, whether it's walking into a studio, or that is going to help you. That all of those little moments, those actions, will build up your confidence on a daily basis to be able to do hard things. And that's, change is hard. It's messy. It's not linear. It's a process. Sometimes you feel like you're going backwards, other times, and so just expect that that is going to be your journey, and try and have some compassion for yourself along the way.
Yes.
We're not perfect.
And how do you maintain your wellness while traveling with KAAIAA studio?
Yes. Good question.
Your life as a mom, you travel, you are constantly on the road. So
it's a daily. It's not like I just kind of went, okay, that's my secret sauce, and then I can just put that aside. This is a daily commitment. And if I can carve out at least some of what I need to kind of help myself feel a little bit sane, then that's what I do. And before you ask me about work-life balance, there is none.
Agreed.
Okay. That, for me, is the biggest misnomer around how to bring success to anything in your life. And I'm not talking just about business. I'm talking about family. I'm talking about all of it. Energy and effort is required in order to get anything off the ground, cultivate and nurture anything. There needs to be energy directed, and it's very rarely going to be distributed in an even amount. Yes. All right. I like to look at it more from I zoom out a little bit more, and rather than like daily, that's just throw my chicks in. It's just not happening. I look at, I am doing this so that I can provide a better life for my kids. Okay, that is my core focus, right? In order to do that, where do I need to put my energy now? What is the quality time that I can carve out with my kids? Now, my 15-year-old, if I can wave at him going out the door, then great. He is off. He texts me from his bedroom and sends me little memes in bed, and that's our love language, and that's my connection to him.
Yes. And that's fine.
That's great.
Yes.
My daughter, I probably carry a little bit more of what you would call mother guilt, because obviously I launched this business when she was very young. I separated from her dad. Her dad was in Bali, so I am her primary caregiver. She looks to me she's only 6, so obviously she just wants as much time with me as possible. I need to make sure that I am giving her time with me. I need to make sure that I'm giving my business what it needs. And I also need to make sure that I'm taking time for myself. So that's the juggling act that I wrestle with every single day. It's work. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I don't get it right.
Yeah.
And sometimes, but I can good cry. It can be so good for the soul. And, she's not backwards in coming forwards. About telling me what she needs. And I appreciate her for that. It can be expressed in a multitude of different ways, and that's fine as well.
Yeah, at least you know.
But at least I know. And it's also a good mirror for me. She is such a great reflection of me. So I know that if she's having a wobble, okay, we need to maybe adjust some of this stuff. And then also, I guess, taking a little bit of my own advice around Rome wasn't built in a day.
Exactly.
What are we doing here? We're working, we're taking steps, and then, so look, it's a daily, I don't want to say struggles, but it's daily.
Yeah, I get it. What did you learn? What is the biggest lesson that you learned while building and creating KAAIAA?
So many. I mean, so many from a business perspective, so many from a personal perspective. Yes. Look, I think my biggest realization around health and fitness on the whole was the magic sort of formula of this holistic approach to health. It really did change my outlook around it. And actually, funnily enough, the less time I spent focusing on my physical training and the more time I spent, I guess, evening it out, the better choices I made around my physical training. So one really fed into the other. So I really feel like the addition of all the different modalities into a workout I was definitely on the right path. It was funny because when I first launched it, I had the managing director of ClassPass ClassPass Asia Pacific come and do a class. This was in 2021. And after the class, we went and had a coffee, and he said, "I don't even know where I would put you. You're not Pilates. You're not breath. He's like, you've actually created your own category." And he said, "I think you're 3 years too early." For people to wrap their head around what training is, and you're throwing all of this other stuff in, we are conditioned to believe that 45 minutes or 1 hour needs to be spent at max volume doing just physical movements. So I not only, I guess, redefined a workout in its format, but then I've taken on the responsibility of re-educating people around what health and fitness, for me, I guess, looks like. So it was a monumental task, and we've had a lot of fun along the way. I suppose the biggest lesson that I've learned in business is, I can understand and see very much why a lot of startups don't make it. It's expensive. There's a lot of tests to learn. There's a lot of times where I have just said, "I can't do this anymore." I think it's just that determination and that will, and the fact that I don't know what else I would do. I have no plan B. There is no plan B. So, just pick yourself up and pivot, be adaptable, be flexible, listen. I think taking on feedback, and it was only until I actually taught the classes and put it in the studio and tried to run a business and all that sort of stuff that you learn where it takes. Put your ego at the door. And you might also, I think one of the most valuable lessons that I learned, especially in today's age with the blocks around advertising, is that you might have the best product out there. You might have the best talent out there. If you don't have a clear and defined route to market, you're going nowhere. You've got to understand who your audience is. You have to understand how to talk to them. You've got to understand what channels you're going to be put. All of that stuff, which I had literally less than zero experience in. A lot of great people that are way better at this than me to help advise, and it's really about getting out of your own way. Stay in the lane that you're in. If you're a founder and you're the ideas person, the visionary, great. Don't try and also be the marketing person and the performance media buyer and all of that sort of stuff. It will just end in an expensive puddle of tears. let me tell you.
Can you share one practice or ritual that keeps you grounded?
Yes. So, as I said, my days can look very different. Some days I have to be in the studio and teaching at 6 a.m, so I'm up at 4:30. Some days I get to have a little bit of a lie-in and take my daughter to school. Some days. So there's not the morning ritual or routine for me. The one thing that I do, I guess, to set my day up and to make sure that I'm coming at it from a clear head and a grounded space is that the second I open my eyes and I don't reach for my phone or anything, I just take 10 deep belly breaths.
Okay.
Lying down in my bed, it sort of clears away the cobwebs, anything I've woken up with or anything at all, really focused breaths into my belly. I hold it in there for a little bit and then I sort of slowly let that breath out, and it just resets my nervous system and it sets me up for the day. And if that's all you can do, it takes 1 minute.
Yes.
Then that's something that I would really, really recommend.
What I will try tomorrow morning.
Yes.
And I'm definitely interested. I want to see you in your element. So in February, I will definitely join a class.
I love that.
That's really exciting. One more thing. Who is inspiring you at the moment and why?
Oh, I have so many people that I kind of glean. I'm in love with this woman on Instagram at the moment called Dr. Mary Claire. She's a menopause specialist. She's got some great advice. It's all sort of evidence-based, but she really speaks to her, and I really resonate with her. I also follow this really great guy from Sport University around proper lifting techniques and just some tips and tricks around that sort of stuff. I am reading at the moment The Creative Way by Rick Rubin. That goes back to my music roots, but also his journey and the things that he, just as a creative.
What is the link between music and your artistic skill of DJing and fitness?
They're like that. But I can't. So, first of all, I can't not teach on the beat. So if any teacher, and if I'm in a class and someone does like 10 reps, why 10? Music is 4, 4, 4. 10 just sends my brain into like a spiral. Why would you do 10? You do 4, you do 8, you do 6. So, I mean, I was a DJ for a long time. I was a singer in a band. There's music, so I can't not teach to a beat. The second thing is that music for me is such an important part of any journey. It's emotive, it's nostalgic, it can be motivating. So there's a soundtrack that sits behind the KAAIAA class that I've actually mixed. I know every single beat in it, the rise and the fall, the light, the shade, like everything is choreographed to, and we do different things, but I know the music so well that it just feels like this kind of seamless journey. And I mean, that's the other thing that I actually can't stand in, traditional gym settings is sometimes the music is just so, it's an afterthought, and it shouldn't be. It should be, I spent half my building budget on the sound system in my studio, stupidly.
I definitely need to work on.
But the audio experience is so important. And also, a lot of the class my class is done with your eyes closed. So you want to have that immersive experience, and people will walk out and be like, right, what's that? I need this, give me the playlist. That was amazing. Why was that song? And it's part of it. It's part of the workout. We have a philosophy in our studio, because I'm also like an 80s music diehard dag fan. And when we were doing the Zoom classes in COVID, I would start the class by lip syncing and dancing to like the daggiest 80s song that I could find. It was a way to A, allow people time to join the Zoom, right? And B, just lighten it a little bit and make people go, like, who is this lunatic that's doing this like embarrassing dance on my screen that's like lip syncing to Fame or whatever it is, and it sort of made people smile a little bit in a quite a trying time of life. But you'll walk into my studio, there's none of that like insipid kind of spa music or any of that sort of stuff. There'll be like Madonna or, because that's the kind of energy that I want people to bring, is this empowered, fun, I guess a little bit nostalgic, so help them remember, this is the way I want to feel. I remember when I went to see them in concert in 1995 or whatever it is. It's a way, and it also, personally because I'm in there all day.
Yes.
It keeps me sane.
Yes, fair enough, absolutely. Okay, and last one. I keep saying last one. Is there anything else that you will suggest or recommend to someone who is starting a business?
One of the best pieces of advice I ever got given, which I didn't take until I guess recently, is that something for nothing has no value. Know your worth, set your value, believe in your value, and the right people will come. If you put the work in, okay, I think we live in a society now where if you try and get into a price war it's going to be a race to the bottom against companies that have billions of dollars worth of marketing spend behind them. If you don't have that, then what is your unique selling proposition? Why are you different? What is the value that you are adding? And what is for the price that you are asking? And who is this for? It just needs to be very clear around who you're targeting, what is the value adding, and what makes you different. So understand those three things first, and then that will kind of feed into a marketing plan. But be prepared for some bumps along the way, be prepared for some setbacks, be prepared to second guess yourself, to question everything, be prepared for all of that. Surround yourself with good people. It doesn't have to be a lot of people, just one or two super supportive, smart individuals. Don't always think that you are the smartest in the room. Try not to be the smartest in the room, and listen and try different things. If you have the flexibility to do that, do that.
Thank you so much. Leah, you are a boost of inspiration. I enjoyed this episode so much. Thank you so much for coming. Really means a lot.
Thank you so much for having me.